So our last little set of notes for 5.2. Wow, we're up to D notes. We're gonna take some D notes. Never mind. Okay, I'll shut up. Sorry. Thank you. So, sum and difference formulas. All right. And you guys got your little reference sheet, so that way I don't have to write them all down every single time. Anybody got any of those babies memorized yet? Working on it?
Kind of easy. It's the same repeated thing. Just
Right.
sign. That's
Yeah.
easy.
Right.
Sign.
It's like one of those things where it's like when you see it first time, it like scares the bejeezers out of you. Like, oh, there's no way. But then once you kind of like start practicing it, you kind of figure out the little pattern to it, and then you're kind of good to go. But you guys will be able to use that on quizzes and tests, so you don't have to have it memorized. Yes.
Do you have like a way to help us memorize the unit circle, or just?
I did the circle for you guys, didn't I, when it came to the first quadrant? What did I do that on?
I don't know.
Tuesday? Oh, you weren't here. I'll go over it with you. Does that work? All right. So today, we're still going to use those sums and difference formulas. But in the past, in the problems that we ended up getting, they kind of gave us that alpha and that beta, both of them. But they could actually only give us one of them, and we could figure out the rest. And we know how to do that. So
I don't really think we do.
we do. You're going to be like, wow, this is so cool. I love how everything from the past just kind of keeps building, and we needed that stuff that we learned last chapter for this chapter, and I aced last chapter, so boom, I'm good to go on this chapter.
Are we gonna go with that test?
If anybody aced the last chapter, I'm proud.
Yes,
I
they
did
did.
not.
Yep. All right.
I'm proud of whoever did.
I'm proud of whoever did. Good job.
Yeah.
All right. So let's suppose that they give us that sine alpha equals 12 over 13. And we know that alpha lies in quadrant 2. And let's say they also let us know about sine beta. And they say that sine beta is 3 over 5. Where beta lies in, we'll go with quadrant 1. Oop. And if we look at any of our sum or difference formulas when it comes to either the sum or difference of sine or the sum or difference of cosine, we need to know cosine alpha, sine alpha, cosine beta, and sine beta, right? We need to know all of those in order to be able to plug it into the formula. So they gave us sine, alpha, and beta. So what do you think we need to find? Cosine.
Beta and
Yeah, we need to find cosine alpha and cosine beta, right? So we kind of got two problems going on here independently for us to give us the information that we need, right? Because I don't know, let's say we wanted to find, like in the ultimate goal, let's say we're going to try and find cosine, what do you want to do? We want to do sum or difference? You pick. Some? I heard some. So we want to find this ultimately, right? And if we look at our formula, we need to know sine alpha, sine beta, and cosine beta. So let's start off with our little alphas, right? So we know that sine alpha equals 12 over 3. And we need to find cosine alpha. When I look at my sine value, that 12 over 3, what is that, or 12 over 13, sorry, what does that 12 and 13 represent? Go all the way back to the beginning of chapter 4.
Y over radius.
Yeah, this is my y value, and this is my r value, or my radius, right? And our goal is we got to find cosine of alpha. And cosine of alpha is going to give us x over r, right? So we already know the r, but what do we need to find?
X.
X. Anybody remember how to find x?
X squared plus y squared equals y squared.
Boom, you got it, right? So we got to do the whole x squared plus y squared equals r squared. We got to do our equation of a circle. We don't know what x is, so x squared plus y. Y is 12 squared is 144. And our r is,
169.
well, our r is 13, right? And r squared is 169. Yep. What are we going to do? Yep, x squared is going to equal 25. X is going to equal what kind of 5s?
Positive and negative.
Yep, positive and negative 5, right? And now we need to figure out if we need the positive 5 or the negative 5. Thanks.
Quadrant one, for, is it for sine? In quadrant one?
This is the one that we've been working on, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
So it's negative.
Quadrant 2, so my x is going to be negative. Yep. Everybody good with that? Yep. So I can now say that my cosine of alpha is going to be negative 5 over 13. So I wanted to know my cosine alpha and my sine alpha. So now guess what I have to do for beta? I'm going to do kind of like that same exact thing, but now I'm going to do it for beta, right? So they gave us that sine beta was 3 over 5. Okay. And we need to find cosine of beta. So what are we going to get? X squared plus, yep, which is 9 equals 25, yep. X squared is going to equal 16. X is going to equal, yep, positive or negative 4. Do we want the positive or the negative for beta?
Positive.
Positive, right? Oh, I'm lagging, right? Because my beta is in quadrant 1, so I know that it's got to be the positive 4. So I'd have what? 4 over, what's my radius? 5, right? So now I have sine beta and I have cosine beta. Now I get to go right back to what we were working on the last couple days, right? We said we were going to find cosine of alpha plus beta, right? So when we look at our little formula, that one's what? Cosine alpha times cosine beta, plus or minus? Minus, yep. Sine alpha, sine beta.
Is it always gonna be the opposite from one?
For cosine it is, yeah. Yep. For sine it's the same. Alright, you guys gotta help me out because I lost my numbers. Okay. Do we know what cosine of alpha is?
Cosine of alpha is -5.
What was it? Sorry.
Negative 5 over 13.
Negative 5 over 13.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, sorry.
No, you're alright. Times cosine of beta. What was cosine of beta?
4 over 5.
4 over 5. Minus sine of alpha?
Is that 13 or 12 over 13?
12 over 13 times sine of beta.
3 over 5.
3 over 5. Thanks for your help, right? And then on these ones, this one, none of them well, heads up. Like technically, like these 5s, you could cancel those 5s out, right? But the problem is you're actually going to be subtracting those two fractions, and in order to subtract them, you got to have a common denominator. So I wouldn't do any reducing until you get to the end, right? So how do we multiply fractions? That's if you're dividing fractions, yep. Yep, we multiply fractions straight across, right?
Yep.
Whew. So we're going to get what? Negative 20 over, what's 13 times 5?
Got a question?
65, right? Minus 12 times 3, 36 over 65. Woo, look at that. My fractions got the same denominator. They're being friends. So what are we going to get in our numerator?
65.
Numerator, the one on top. Oh, you're all right.
Negative
56.
Negative 56 over 65. Can we reduce that?
Probably.
What is so?
All right. If you think you can reduce it, you go ahead and try and reduce it. Let me know what you come up with.
Probably not.
Almost crazy equal signs. All right. So on these ones, like they usually break it down into like A, B, C, D or something. Like A will be find cosine alpha, then find cosine beta, and then they'll say now find cosine of alpha plus beta, right? So we just know that if they just give us one little piece, oops, right? We need to find the other two. And they can give you either the sine, or they can give you the cosine, or they could even give you the tangent, right? So let's just kind of set a tangent up, just so we know that we're good with tangents. Sound good? Sometimes tangents are a little different. Sometimes tangents put us on a little tangent. All right. So let's say they give us that tangent of alpha equals negative 4/3. And that alpha lies in quadrant 2. And so they're going to ask you, I don't know, like what's the difference of sine, right? So we want to find sine alpha minus sine beta. Right? And in order to do that problem, we need to know cosine alpha, sine alpha, and we also need to know cosine or sine. We need to know both, right? Sine alpha and beta and cosine alpha and beta. And right now we don't know either of those. The only thing we know is tangent. So when it comes to that tangent, that negative 4 and that 3, or wherever that negative lies, we got to figure out where that negative goes. What's that 4 over 3? Yeah, that's y over x, right? So we need to figure out if the y is the positive or y is the negative.
Y is positive.
Yeah, y is positive, and y is y positive?
Because it's in the quadrant.
Yeah, because it's in quadrant 2, right? So my y is going to be the positive 4, and my my x is going to be the negative 3. I feel like I got all my x's and y's and sines and cosines all mixed up today, right? So what do we still need to find? We need to find the radius, right? So how are we going to find the radius?
Negative 3 squared plus 4 squared.
Yep. So negative 3 squared is?
9.
Yep. 4 squared is?
16.
That's going to give us, whoops, I'm a dork. That's going to give us our r squared, right? 25 equals r squared. R is going to equal 5, right? Can our radius ever be negative? No, because the radius is the distance from the center of the circle to any point on the circle, right? So you guys think, so now you need to find cosine of alpha, right? Sine of alpha. So cosine of alpha is going to be,
Negative 3 over 5.
yeah, And sine of alpha is going to be
4 over 5.
4 over 5, right? And then they'll give you another piece that has to do like with beta, if that's part of it. Not bad? So taking some stuff from the last chapter, sprinkling it into some stuff in this chapter, and life is good, right?